Boker Tov, today's daf is Daf Yomi in קידושין, as we learned for Shlom for Lazar ben Reuma and Yosef ben Chaim Michal. Right from the first of the wide lines on them Zayin Aleph, the two dots there, we're discussing an issue which we had back on Daf Vav. Now we're discussing it again because we alluded to it yesterday when we said, after learning and trying to explain the Mishnah, the Gemara said at the bottom of Mem Vav that Rabbi said, you see from Rav Ami's words that Mekadosh Milvanim Kadeshes. So what? If you're Mekadosh and Isha, you have to give an Isha Kesef Shtar or Bia. So normally we do it with Kesef, right? Bia is discouraged by the rabbis and Shtar is almost unheard of today. But it's complicated because you don't know what it's worth. Is it the value? It's not the value of the piece of paper. It's really what's written in there, etc. So today, to be safe, we give her Kesef, which is a Shava Pruta according to Beisol in the way we paskin. But you have to give her something. Mekadosh Milva is a concept that if, let's say, you have an outstanding loan that you've given this woman previously, you've given her a loan. Well, the rule is Milva Lo Tzonyet. Even if she still has some of the money, you lent her $100, even if she still has $50 or $60 there, but that money is meant to be spent. That's not money that you're giving her now. She's not giving you back the same $100 bill or the same $100 worth of coins that you gave her. She's going to give you back other money. That money that you gave her is already, like, it's as if it's spent already. It's made to be spent. So you're not giving her anything now. So therefore, if you're Mekadosh, you say, I'm Mekadosh you the money that, the loan that I have, you keep the money. You don't have to return it. You're not giving her anything now. You have to give her something right now. So Mekadosh Milva Ain't Mekadosh. That's what Rav said, and we had that Abai said that back and above. Why? Because Milva Lo Tzonyet, and Milva is made to be spent. So we're going to have a discussion. If none of it was spent yet, fine. Then we're going to have maybe another opinion. But if the money was at least partially spent, and Rashi points out, Afilu Yeshna Be'en, 2 lines into the wide lines in Rashi, even if the money's still here, we're going to see, even if all the money is still here, according to the main opinion of the Gemara, even if all the money's here, but you're not giving her that money is meant to be spent. She could have spent already. So therefore, you're not giving her anything now. Name it tonight. Does everybody agree with this? We had it back, Abaya said it back on the above. Now Rav is saying, Mekadosh Milvanim Kadeshes, and we said yesterday that Rav said, based on Rav Ami also, we say Mekadosh Milvanim Kadeshes. Name it tonight. Maybe it's a machlokas. Does everybody hold to that? Maybe some will say, well, by relaxing, by forgiving the loan, telling you, okay, I'm giving you a loan, you don't have to owe me the money anymore, right? That's a big deal. Like people contra money all the time. You owe me for this, I owe you for that. So it's like I'm giving it to you now. Does everybody agree with this concept? Mekadosh Milvanim Kadeshes. Name it tonight. Let's say it's a machlokas. Mekadosh Milvanim Kadeshes. Yesham Kadeshes. Oh, some say from Mekadosh Milvanim it's not considered a marriage, a betrothal. Some say it is. My love isn't that the machlokas? The Marsav Milva Lo Tzonyet. The Tanna Kamma says Ein Kadeshes holds that a milva is meant to be spent, and therefore you're not giving her anything now. Marsav Milva Lo Tzonyet. No, it's not Lo Tzonyet. If the money's here, if the money was all spent, you're not giving her anything now. You're forgiving a loan. Forgiving a loan is not giving her anything right now. But if some of the money is still here, you lent her $100, she still has $10 or $20 in her purse. So it's made to be spent. But if it's not spent yet, maybe you can cash it. Maybe that's a machlokas. So maybe this that Abaye and Rav Ami said in Mekadosh Milva Kadeshes is not unanimous. There's a machlokas about it. Maybe it's a machlokas Taron, right? Because it's a machlokas between two Tanam. Mekadosh Milva Kadeshes. Kadeshes says more of a Tizbro. Amos Sefer, look at the Sefer of that Mishnah, or that Brisa that talks about Mekadosh Milvanim Kadeshes, V'yesham Kadeshes. The Sefer there says they both agree. B'shavim mecher shezeh kana. Let's understand. What do you mean mecher kana? Reuven gave Shimon $100, and so Shimon owes him the money. Now Shimon says that or Reuven would like to buy Shimon's field. Reuven lent $100 to Shimon. Now Reuven would like to buy Shimon's field for the same $100. So they both agree over there. They both agree. The Sefer says B'shavim the mecher shezeh kana. It does work. What does that mean? When you sell a field, we're talking about a field, karka. How is karka sold? Kesef shtar chazaka. Let's say it's kesef. I owe you $100, and you want to buy my field, right? You want to buy my field. So I tell you, what? I won't pay you the money, and you'll keep the field for that. You'll get the field for the $100 that I owe you, right? I owe you the money anyway. I owe you the money or you owe me the money, right? Which way does it work? No. If I owe you the money, Shimon owes Reuben the money, and Reuben wants to buy Shimon's field. So you could say, you know what? Okay, I'll tell you what. I owe you the money. In place of me paying you the money, I'll relax the loan that you don't have to pay me anymore. Shimon owes Reuben the money. So okay, you know what, Shimon, you don't have to take. I'll take the field instead. How does he acquire the field? Kesef shtar chazak. It's kesef over here. The field's kesef. So he didn't give him anything. It says b'shavim b'mecher shezeh kana, that he acquires the field with the money that's owed to him, but he didn't pay anything right now. How does that work? Yeah, if a loan is meant to be spent, but my kind, how does he acquire? You want to say over here that it's a machlokes based on what? Is milbalotzonen, is it considered spent or not? Right? But they both agree that by a sale of a field, right? If Shimon owes Reuben $100 and now Reuben wants to buy Shimon's field, right? Shimon owes Reuben $100 and Reuben wants to buy Shimon's field. So how does he pay for it? By relaxing the loan that Shimon owes him. And that works. How does that work? He didn't give him anything now. Rav Nachman, I'll tell you what, this is not a case of that you're thinking of. This is not a case where the wife owes the husband or the fiance owes the groom, the bride owes the groom money, and he's relaxing the loan. Rav Nachman, Huna, our friend, Mukam of Milch, explain the whole case differently. This is what we're speaking about over here. We say Mekadosh Milva and Mukadeshes or Yesh Mukadeshes and Machlokes, going to Omerla, it's not talking about a case where she owed him money and he relaxed the loan and he said, you don't have to pay me anymore. Is that giving her something or not? No. It's speaking about a case where he's giving her money now. And he says, here's $100, marry me, or a ring worth $100. Skachli Mana. Mana Chaser dinner. And when he counted it, it wasn't $100, it was only $99. She counted it. What's Machlokas then? One holds, listen, she's too embarrassed to ask for the other dinner. He gave her $100, there's only $99, she's not going to ask for it. So she figures she's never going to get the money, and she doesn't really agree. She says, you agreed to $100, now I'm going to ask him for $1, so it's not really a marriage. That's Pshat. So no, she's not embarrassed. You promised me $100, give me $100. That's the machlokus over here. It's not a case where a loan was outstanding. He gave her the money now. He said, marry me with this $100, but it turns out it's only $99. So one says, no, she's not married. You know why? Because he only owes her $1, and she's going to be embarrassed to ask for it. So she's never really accepted, she never got her $100. The other one says, no, she's not embarrassed. She expects to get the other, the $99 is here, and she'll get the other one. She'll ask for it. So therefore, it is a good marriage because she'll get the money. Apparently, she's married even right now. She's not embarrassed to ask for it. And so therefore, okay, so... Yeah, but if she doesn't ask for it, she's not going to get married. Exactly. She's not going to be embarrassed to ask for it. But it's mashma that even as long as she's not embarrassed, even if she didn't get the $1 right now, but she agrees for the $99 and she'll get the other one. And the concept is what's in her mind. She's expecting $100. Okay, she'll get the other $1 later on. She's married probably from right now, but she'll get the other $1. But if you hold that she's never going to get the other $1, she's embarrassed to ask for it. He made a mistake. He thought it was $100. It's only $99. So he doesn't know any better. And she's too embarrassed to say, I'm sorry, you made a mistake. It was only $99. She'll never get the other $1. She's not going to ask for it. So she's not really married. That's the case. That's the case. You're saying this is a machlokas. Is she going to ask? Is she embarrassed to ask or not? Rabbi Lazar says, the man says to a woman, marry me for $100. And he gave her, he only gave her $1. Not that he gave her 99 and there was one missing. He says, marry me for $100, and he gave her $1. Hareza Mukadesh, she says Mukadesh is Fiyashlan. And as it's understandable, it's understanding that it's understood that he's going to give her $100, but he started with $1. He owes her the rest, make up the rest. Let me get the It comes out, it's really machlokas. She should be embarrassed to ask or not. Loza says that it's a good marriage. Maybe it depends if it's machlokas here, whether she's going to ask for it or not. Amri Monachas Milsa. $100 less $1, meaning $99. She's embarrassed to ask the mitzvah. She's embarrassed to ask for the other $1 because okay, you gave me 99. That's good enough. I'm not going to ask for the other one, even though she's expecting to get the 100. So she feels she got cheated, but she's too embarrassed. But if you said $100 and you're missing 99, only gave her $1, look, see for the bill, so that nobody's going to have that. And it's understood, you only gave her $1 that she's owed the other 99. She'll ask for it. Therefore, she agrees to the marriage, and she expects to get the other 99 later on. So again, we have Rav's opinion of Makadosh Milva and Mekudeshes if he gave her a loan, and then the next day or later on he said, I'll relax the loan, or I'll forgive the loan and marry me with that. He's not giving her anything right now because Milva Lotzon is that. Is it a machlokus? We can't prove it's a machlokus at this point. Meisvei, Akasha though on this point. You're trying to say that Kadosh Milva and Mekudeshes. Listen to this. Omer Leisha, 4 lines from the bottom of Amar Aleph. Omer Leisha Skachli B'Pukod Sheishli B'Yadcha. A man gave her a deposit, not a loan. A deposit is meant to hold on to. You're not supposed to spend it. You put it in your safe for me. With the deposit that I've given you. She went and she looked for it. It was stolen. Now she was presumably a shomer chinam, so she's not responsible for Ganei V'Navei. She went and, in other words, the money that you have in the safe that I asked you to hold for me, it's in your drawer or whatever, I'm giving you that money. And it was gone. As long as some of it was left, maybe the Ganef left one pruta mekudeshes because she's married with that, whatever the picardin is left. The part that was stolen, and she's not responsible for it, presumably, right? But if there's a pruta, if there's nothing left, he didn't give her anything, right? The money was stolen. Uva milva, listen to this. Uva milva, if it's a loan, if he gave her a loan, and he says, even though nothing is left, mukudeshes, which is really strange. Now we're saying Mekadesh Milva is Mukudeshes of Mashmik, that it's because even though there's nothing left, it's gone. The money's all gone. The whole issue we said before is Mekadesh Milva and Mukudeshes because Milva is meant to be spent, even though some of the money's here. Here we're saying, even if the money's all gone, she's Mukudeshes. How does this make sense? We'll see. Shimon Lazar, Mishmar Meir, he says, Milva is like a loan, meaning if some of it's here, she's married. If it's not. Adkan lo pligi, says more on the top of Memzan and Beis. Adkan lo pligi ela the marsav milva afagat lo nishtari menasheva fruta marsav nishtari menasheva fruta. They both agree that a milva, you could be mekash milva. The only machlokus is milva like a pekadon if some of the money's here, yes, or not, or the Tanakama says marsav even though there's nothing is left. That's what Tana said. Afa bishol nishtari menasheva fruta. Mukudeshes is Mukudeshes. How does that work? The machlok is only does some of the loan have to be here? Tanakama says even if nothing is left here. Whereas Rav Meir says, Rav Shimon says, name Rav Meir, it's like a bekadon. If the money's here, then if some of the money's here, it's a good marriage. If not, not. So again, Adkan lo pligi el the marsav milva afagat lo nishtar menu sheva pruta marsav nishtar menu sheva pruta ein e lo nishtar menu sheva pruta lo. Aval the kuli alma mekadosh Mukudeshes. Everybody says Mukudeshes, so it's a kasha on Rav and Abaye and Rav Ami who said that Mekadosh Milva Ein Mukudeshes says you're not giving her anything now. Here it's mashma that it is. Amar Rava, v'tizbra ha'imitar. So you think this price makes sense? Is it correct? Hamashbeshte, it's corrupted. Why? Because how do you talking? You're saying if you Mekadosh with the pikadon, if so,
what's going on?
What kind of pikadon are we speaking about? Either Kabbalah rice, if she accepted responsibility that if something happens to her, she's going to pay it back. In other words, she's like a shomer, like a shoel, or she accepted responsibility. Either kabbalah rayas, hainu milva, same as a loan. What is a loan? You lend me $100 and I take responsibility to pay you back. So why is it different than if the bekadon is like the milva? So it's the same as milva. Even if it's all gone, so if it was all stolen, I have to pay it back to you. That's like a loan. So if a loan works. If Mekadosh Milva works according to the Tanakama, even if none of it's left, the same thing with Pikadon, it should work away. If she didn't accept any achrayas for it, so why talk about a difference between a Pikadon and a Milva? Why do you say for Milva? Even though nothing is left with Kudeshes, which doesn't make sense to us, doesn't make sense to Rav and Abaye and Abami. Make a difference, show a difference by a Pikadon. When do we say that by Pikadon? If some of the money is left, then it's a marriage. If it's all stolen, it's not. Right? She didn't accept responsibility for it. The money was stolen. None of it's left. There's nothing to marry her with. If some of it's left, you'll marry her. She'll marry with that. But if she accepted responsibility for it, like a loan, that something happens and she'll pay it back. Because that's what you said. By milva, even though nothing is left, it's a good קידושין. So the price doesn't make sense. If the picardin is something that she didn't that she accepted responsibility for, then it's just like a loan. So why is there a difference between picardin if something is left? Yes, not by milva, if nothing is left. Why is the difference between picardin and milva? And if she that's if she accepted responsibility and she didn't accept responsibility. So why talk about a difference between a picardin and a milva? Make a difference between a picardin that she didn't accept responsibility for versus one that she did accept responsibility for. Like we're exactly right. Then say, when do you say that if some of the loan is here, she's married? If some of the picardin is here, she's married, and if it's all gone, she's not married. That's if she didn't accept responsibility. But if she accepted responsibility, then it's like a milva. And according to what you said, a milva, even if nothing is here, since she's responsible to pay it back, and he forgives that loan, she's married. So this price, it doesn't make sense, and you have to explain it this way. That's the point. We're looking back on Amud Aleph now, and 2 lines from the bottom of the page, and don't say even though some of it's left, she's still, even though none of it's left, she's mekudeshes, but rather, no. Even though some of the money is left, right? You gave her $100 and she spent $60 and there's $40 left. No, even though there's shavaputa or $40 left from shavaputa, and mekudeshes like Rav. Shemil Omer, Rav Meir Milva Pekadin. Wait, no, Milva's like the Pekadin. If some of the money is here, it's married, nothing's not. So then what's the machlokas here? We're back to our original point. Our original point was we said, Rav said, Mikash Mekudeshes, and Mar says, maybe it's machlokas. Does everybody agree with Rav? Well, even if you explain this way, and you explain now that the Tanakam of this price has said, Mikash Milva ain't mekudeshes, right? By a pikadon, if some of it's still here, fine. She's married, that money is his, and he's giving it to her now. By a loan, even though the money someone is here, it's not mekudeshes. So what does Rav Shimon say in the name of Meir? Rav Shimon said there, milva is like a pikadon. That means that if some of the money's here, it's a good. So what's machlokas? Again, we apparently have machlokas whether milva is on it or not. If it's the same thing, so that's what Rashi says. Evil so self Rav said is only according to one Tana. Not everybody agrees with him. Amarabba, so Rav explains Bey Rav. I found the rabbis in the yeshiva. Bey Rav is not the house of Rav, it means the yeshiva. Rashi says the Meir Bey Rav, Lav Rav Mamashu, El Beis Medrash. It's a Beis Medrash. Means a Beis Medrash. Bey Rav. They asked me, they were sitting with Kamri, and they said like this. The milva b'shus balam lechazara v'odin lonsim b'bi. The machlokas of here is not. Everybody agrees milva lo tzar nitne, and you cannot get married if you gave him a loan and some of the loan was spent, even though some of it's still here, you can't marry her with that because it's milva lo tzar nitne. The machlokas is where milva b'shus balam lechazara. If the money is all still here, I lent you $100 for 10 days, but the $100 is still intact. You haven't spent it yet. I can call the loan. That's the question. If I can call the loan, that means it's still mine. I'm the owner. If I give you $100 and I say, okay, I'm lending you $100, you don't owe me that $100. You owe me a different $100, right? That's the concept of milva son it now. And I'm not giving you anything now. If you're the wife, if you're the girl, I'm not giving you anything. But there's machlokas over here. If the money was still intact, the $100 I gave you still here, wasn't touched yet. That's the machlokas here. The answer will come with milva b'shus balam lechazara v'odin lonsim b'bi. Marsav milva b'shus lova kaima. Tanakama says no. As soon as I gave you the $100, it's in your shus. V'odin lonsim. You're responsible for it at that point, not me. In other words, onus also like if I lend you something, if anything happened to it, once I gave it to you, even if it's still intact, you haven't used it yet, you're responsible. Marsav milva b'shus balam kaima. It's still loans. In other words, that whether it's that a loan that I've given you that's still intact, you haven't spent the money yet, it's still considered mine, and I can take it back. And therefore, I'm giving you something. That's what Shimon says in the name of Shimon says in the name of Meir. Milva's like to be cotton, that if it's still here, then it's still mine, and I'm giving you something else. Amina lahu. This is what Rabbah said. Rabbah said, I found the rabbis at the yeshiva. And they said that's the machlokus over here. And I told them, everybody agrees that in terms of accidents that happen to something that I gave you, whether it's money or an item or whatever, certainly you're responsible for it. my time. What's the reason? It's no different than I lent you something. If I lent you my shovel or my car and you damage, as soon as I gave it to you, you're responsible for it. What do you say if it's still intact? That's it's still intact. Of course, it's still intact until it's not intact. Until something happened to it. Of course, it's no different than Shayla. Ma Shayla the Hutter Ben. Shayla, if you borrow something, you give it back intact. Chayiv bones, and you chayiv in any accident that happened to it. Milvah Lakoshke. Certainly, if I gave you money that you're entitled to use, if I gave you my shovel and I expect it back intact, you're responsible for it if anything happened to it. Certainly, if I gave you money and something happened to it, an accident, it was stolen or whatever, something beyond your control, certainly you're responsible for it as soon as I gave it to you. The question over here is, when I gave you the loan and it's still intact, you haven't spent it yet, is it considered mine or not? The Malvin is mine or not? And the Tanakama says, no, as soon as I gave it to you, it's considered like you spent it, and therefore milva and you give cash from milva. Whereas a Shimon Elazar in the name of Rav Meir says there is a situation where I gave a woman $100 as a loan, and if she hasn't touched it yet, she hasn't spent the money yet, it's still considered mine. And if I forgive her the loan now and say keep the money, that is considered a marriage. That's the machlokes. But if any of the money is spent, everybody agrees that even if some of the money is still here and it's considered like it's hers already, that's the idea that once you give her money, and the concept is love Rishoy Lotzia Botsa, the concept is like the money that's there, according to the Tanakhama, even if the whole $100 is intact, but it's your money now. I give you owe me a different $100. The $100 I gave you is yours. I'm not giving you anything now if I forgive the loan. Whereas Rav Meir will say the whole $100 is still intact, it's still mine. It's not really yours until you begin spending it. But if once you begin spending it, it's certainly all yours. Even the money that's unspent is considered like it's spent, and therefore I'm not giving you anything. Rafuna is like this. If I borrow your axe, if I used it, I cut something with it, I chopped something with it, then I acquired it, I'm responsible. Lo bikabo, lo kon. If I didn't use it yet, I didn't acquire it. That's machlokas tanam over here. Whether I used it or not, am I responsible? Slow. I can look like a milva. That machlokas only by a loan. The lo harbe normally doesn't come back intact. So you could say it's machlokas whether if it's still intact, is it considered mine or is it considered yours? The shayla, the harbe, which goes back intact. If you call, everybody agrees. Bikabo a, no bikabo lo. In other words, can you go back on the deal? If I lend you my axe for 10 days and you haven't used it yet, I can come back and say, I changed my mind. I need it myself. Now I can take it back. You have no argument to me and say, but you lent it to me for 10 days. If you didn't use it yet, since it goes back intact, there's no question. But by a loan, which is not normally given back intact, you give it back, you borrow one set of $100, you give back a different $100. It might be the same $100, but it doesn't have to be. There we have machlokas, whether if you used it yet, is if you started using the money, can you go back on it or not? In other words, if you haven't started using the money, can you go back on it? Tanakama says even if you haven't started using it yet, but it's melvelot's on it, it's made to be spent. Therefore, it's considered like the lobas, and the malva is not giving the loba anything at this point. So we still have the issue. We're still maintaining at this point that a makadosh milva ain't a mekudesh. That's according to everybody. Except we have a shita, maybe of Rav Meir, who says that if the loan has not been touched yet, it's still intact, then maybe it would be a good issue. Name again, let's say maybe this question of a makadosh milva, is it unanimous that everybody agrees that at least a part of the money is spent? That once you dug into it, everybody would agree that you can't be makadosh without loan, even if some of the money is intact. Some of the money is still here. I gave you $100 as a loan. You spend $10, there's $90 left. Can I makadosh to you with that $90, which is still in your possession? Or do you say no? At this point, we're saying because that money is yours. It's like, I'm not giving you anything now. Then we get to know it. Maybe it's a machlok. Look at this case. It's actually b'shtar chov. Marry me with an outstanding loan. What does that mean? Reuben's giving Leah an IOU. Presumably, he has this IOU on somebody else. Yankel owes Reuben $100, right? Reuben says, look, I have an IOU. He owes me this money. you take over the loan. That's something, right? It's a loan. He owes me the money, right? I can demand that $100. I'm giving you that ability, that obligation that he owes me the money. I'm giving you something that's worth money. That's worth money. Or he has a loan outstanding. Now the Gemara is going to say, well, what's the difference between those two things? Isn't it the same, right? And he gave her an authority. He gave her, listen, I'm handing over to you. I'm writing it down. He gave her harsha, a document which transfers responsibility, transfers the obligation that Yankel owes the money to Ruvain. He's giving it to his wife. That's transfer.
Who said she's never going to be collected? Maybe he took off to Europe. You'll never see the money.
Okay, yeah. Okay. Let's assume it was mortgage with property. Even if he took off, he could die or whatever. It was mortgage. There was something to collect from. It was a $100 loan, but it was guaranteed by his house. His house was a mortgage to it. Okay. So in other words, he gave her a real obligation, right? Rav Meir says mukudeshes, Rav Meir says it's a good קידושין. Chum say it's not a good קידושין. So let's understand what's the case over here. What does it have to do with our case of a loan? What do you mean he gave her shtar-chov? If it's the case that I outlined to you before, meaning that Yankel owes Reuben $100 and there's an IOU, and he transferred that IOU to the girl and says, "Mikash me with that." That's the same as milbechem. That's the same as you have two cases here, right? You mikadosh her with either b'shtar-chov or he had a loan outstanding with Yankel. Those are the same things. How can you have two cases that they're both some an outstanding loan of b'shtar-chov or milbechem? It's the same thing. Elav shtar-chov dido must be shtar-chov that he gave her the loan that she owes him. She owes him $100, and she wrote him an IOU. And now he's giving her back the IOU and saying, "Mekadosh do you?" Well, Mekadosh milk. That's machlokas over here. Rav Meir says mukudeshes. Apparently, Rav Meir holds mukudeshes, Mekadosh milk mukudeshes. And according to this, it's Rav Meir. It's the same Rav Meir as we had before. Rav Meir would say over here, even if the loan is partially used up, he's Mekadosh with that. It's mashma that it was good קידושין. So you see, according to Rav Meir, Mekadosh milk mukudeshes. Mar says no. La'olam shtachov dacher. When he says shtachov, doesn't mean that the kala, the bride, owes him the money and he's relaxed, he's forgiving that loan. It's really a shtar-chov that he has on Yankel. So what's the difference between shtar-chov and milva b'yad acherim? What's the oshoyo milva b'yad acherim? Milva b'shtar, milva al-pekah. That's machlokas here. One is a milva b'shtar. He gave her an IOU. One case, Yankel owed him an IOU. He had a real loan document, an IOU that Yankel had given to Reuben, and now Reuben's giving that over to the girl. In the other case, it was a milval pet. There was no IOU. Okay, so we'll see. So that's we're not talking about a case of marrying her like what is our case of Mekadosh Milva? He gave a girl a loan, and now he says, "I'll forgive the loan. Marry me with that forgiving, whatever you want to call it, by giving you the loan, by canceling the loan, you marry me." So the question there is, he's not giving her anything. That's not our case here. We're not talking about where he gave her money. He had lent her money. We're both cases are speaking about where somebody else owed him money, and he's transferring that obligation that he has to her, and he's giving her something. But one case is with a shtar-chov, one's with a milval pek, mifagi. Milval mishtar, so the Gemara is going to explain now. Milval mishtar, so what's machlokas here? Why is that not good? If somebody owes me $100 and I have an IOU, and it's guaranteed with the bank or the property or whatever, real estate, and I give it to a woman, I say, "I'm giving you this is worth money. I'm giving her something. Why is it not mekudesh? What's machlokas?" But look at the Rebbe Rabban, famous machlokas Rebbe Rabban. Tanya, Osios Niknas Masir Dev Rebbe. Rebbe holds that an IOU like that, I have an IOU from this guy, and it's signed and sealed and everything, right? How can I transfer it to you? One says, "You just give it to you." Masira, letters, meaning just words. I can transfer this obligation, this IOU to you. How do I give it to you? Just by giving it to you. Masira. That's what Rebbe says. No. You have to have, accompanying the transfer itself, giving you the shtar, I also have to have a bill of sale. Besides the IOU says that Yankel owes Reuben $100. just giving it to Leah over here doesn't mean that Yankel owes her the money now. If you look at the document, what does it say? He owes Reuben $100. So if she comes over to him and she says, look, I got this document that you owe Reuben $100 and he gave it to me. Oh, he gave it to you. Maybe you stole it. Maybe you found it on the street. That's not good enough just to give it to her. You have to have also a bill of sale saying to Reuben, that Reuben says to Leah, I'm giving this to you. I'm transferring it to you, a separate bill of sale. So that's the machlokas here. Rebbe says it's enough just to give it to her. Say, whether you wrote a bill of sale accompanying the IOU, but you didn't give her the IOU, or or you gave her the IOU, but you didn't write a separate bill of sale. Lo kana, she doesn't require it. The recipient doesn't require the obligation. Until you write a bill of sale and hand over the IOU. Mar islay the Rebbe. One holds of Rebbe. That's the machlokus over here. Over here, you didn't write the bill of sale. You just gave her the IOU. So one holds of Rebbe. Rebbe says that's good enough. That's why it's good קידושין. Why? Because he gave her the obligation that Yankel owed him the money. He gave her that. That's all. Umar Lesed Rebbe one says, no, Rebbe, if you didn't write a bill of sale, that's why it's not Mikadeshes. Because all you did is you handed her the IOU, that's not good enough. That's the machlokus over here. Nothing to do with our case of Makadosh Milva. Nothing to do with that. Here we're talking about giving her a real obligation that somebody else owed him $100. But how did you give it? Did you give it properly or not? One who says Mekadesh says because just handing over the IOU, that's good enough. It feels like Rebbe. And one doesn't hold like Rebbe, right? And one says Ein Mekadesh says no, that's not good enough. You didn't have a bill of sale accompanying the transfer of the IOU. Yeah, of course she has to accept it. Yeah, of course. It's a marriage. Marriage only works by her acceptance. You can't force it on. The only way you can force it is on a Yabama. But that's right. I don't accept it. I don't accept it. She can say, I don't accept it. I don't accept the money. I don't accept this thing. I don't want to go after Yankel. I don't accept it. Give me something. Give me a ring or go find another girl. You can't force a marriage on somebody. A Yabama, yes. Yabama, because there's a Zeke already. And a father can force a marriage on a girl on his daughter up to the age of 12. But a regular woman, you can't force a marriage on her. She has to accept it. Nobody holds a Rebbe. Everybody holds you need a bill of sale accompanying the transfer of the IOU. Over here, when you wrote the bill of sale, you didn't put enough guarantees in there. It's machlok in Rav Papa's mind. Rav Papa said, I'm on the Zav. If you sell somebody else an IOU, I'm selling them an IOU. So you have to write a separate bill of sale, and in the bill of sale, I say, I'm giving it to you, I'm selling it to you, and all its obligations. You have to be very clear. I'm selling you the IOU that Yankel that I have on Yankel, and I'm including him selling it to you and all its obligations. Maris, the one says, it was like a papa, you have to write, and here he didn't write that in the bill of sale. So one holds a papa, and therefore he says, not Mekadesh. So Maris, the one says, you don't have to write that. You don't have to write that in, therefore it is a good קידושין. In other words, the question over here is, when he gave her the IOU, there was some fault in that transfer. Either machlokes between Rebbe and the Chacham, whether you have to write a bill of sale in general, maybe you didn't write a bill of sale there, or even if you wrote a bill of sale, everybody holds you have to write a bill of sale, but he didn't write it properly according to Rav Papa's rules. I'll tell you, the Kuliyama is everybody holds the Rav Papa that when you transfer an IOU, not only do you have to give it to her, but you also have to have a proper bill of sale in which you write on it, I'm transferring to you all its obligations. Here's a different machlokes. Machlokes that Shmuel says. Shmuel says, listen to this case. I sell you an IOU, right? Like you just said, you brought up a good point. What do you say that maybe the recipient doesn't trust that he's going to be able to get it from Yankel? He doesn't want to run after him. Listen to this. The IOU says Yankel owes me $100. Now I give you that. I sell you that obligation. Maybe I'll discount it. He owes me $100. I'll give it to you for $80, right? Something like that. It's worth because you got to go after him now, right? I can then turn around after I sell it to you and be mochel the loan. Because all I'm selling you is his obligation to me. And I can release that obligation. That's what Shmuel says. Pretty strange, right? He says, I sell you an obligation, an IOU that I have on Yankel, that he owes me $100. And then I forgive the loan. I'm selling you the obligation that he has to me. I can forgive that obligation. Right? It doesn't say what?
cheating.
Yeah, it would be cheating. Well, that's the question. That you got to be careful. Let the buyer beware. When you buy an IOU, be careful. Maybe you want to change it and change the words to say, I don't want to agree to buy it until Yankel gives me a new IOU in your name. Like that's what you would do. Even the heir of the person who sold it can also be mochel because the obligation is his. And the IOU simply says that Yankel owes this person, the lender, $100, or he owes his son $100. He can be mochel. Maris later Shmuel. One holds a Shmuel, unless it's Shmuel. Meaning, what does that mean? Rav Meir doesn't hold the Shmuel. Rav Meir says you can't be mochel. I don't agree with that. Sold him the obligation. The obligation now belongs to you. He can't be mochel. He's out of the picture. Therefore, when he sold it to him, when he gave her this IOU and said, "Marry me with that," it's mukadeshes. Why? Because he did write a proper bill of sale accompanying it. The bill of sale was written with all the obligations in there. What's the issue? Maybe she won't want to really accept it because maybe he could be mochel the loan, like Shmuel says. No, you can't do that, right? He doesn't hold the Shmuel. The Marius later Shmuel, Rameir doesn't hold the Shmuel. Therefore, Rameir says it's a good kedushin because he can't be mochel alone. Whereas the Tanakama says, Rameir says, what's the machlokas? Rameir, the Chachamim say, why? Because she doesn't really think she's going to get the money, right? She says, what are you giving me over here? Are you giving me an IOU that you can be mochel tomorrow? I'm not going to get anything over here. So she doesn't agree really to the marriage. She doesn't have her consent because she doesn't think she's getting it. You say everybody owes a Shmuel. In a regular case where I sell you an IOU that he owes me, maybe, you're not, I could be mochel the loan and, I could be mochel the loan and maybe you're not going to be so sure, you're not going to be anxious to buy it. But the woman figures, what is he going to cheat me? He's marrying me. He's going to be my husband. She's going to turn around and cheat me. Why would he cheat me? It's all our money. We're going to have one common bank account now after it takes 8 months to sign up and get a common bank account after they get married, right? The woman's marsav, isha some chadaita. She relies. She figures if he gave me this loan, he gave me this IOU, he's not going to leave me and be mochel the loan from Yankel. He'd rather me get the money, right? So therefore, she agrees that to get married based on that. That's Rav Meir Shita, Mekudeshes. She doesn't rely on it. She doesn't rely on it. She figures out he'll be mochel alone, so maybe he's not giving me anything. That's why he's saying mukadeshes. Again, all these cases are not where he lent her money. It's where he's giving her an IOU that Yankel owes him money. That's machlokes by Bilba B'shtar. We said, what's the case here? Where the whole thing was, marry me with this shtar chov or with the milv that I have with somebody else. So we thought maybe the shtar chov was where he lent her money. No. It's an IOU that Yankel owes him money. And then machlokas is based on this shtar, whether she's really figuring she's getting something or not. Is it a real transfer or not? And what's the other word? Milva because we said shtar chov. We said that skashim b'shtar chov o shayila milv b'arachem. What's the milv b'arachem? That's a milv al peh. What's the machlokas there? Milv al peh. What's the machlokas between Rav Meir and the Chachamim? The Rav Huna Marav machlokas Rav Huna Marav halacha. Don't Rav Huna Marav. Monali b'yadcha. Listen to this. You have money of mine. Tanu leploni, give it to a third person. But mamish lashikana. It's one of the 3 halachas that the rabbis gave that just to make commerce easier. There's not real svara to it. Meaning, there's not a real kinyan. What happens? Avram owes me $100, right? And we're standing here together, and I say, the money that he owes me, I'm giving to you. Now it's yours. He owes it to you. When did Rav say that word? Because he has $100 of my money in his wallet or in his safe. I'm giving it to you. Then it works. Not by a loan. It works either way. In other words, the one who says it's not a good kedushin, but the Chacham say it's not a good kedushin, say that only works by pekad, not by a loan. Whereas Rav Meir will say it doesn't make any difference if it's a loan or it's a pekad. If I say that Avram owes me $100, whether it's a deposit that he has or whether it's a loan, I'm giving it to you. That works, and that's what we're talking about over here. Is she mukadeshes or not? Do you say that ma'amid shloshta on that concept? The ma'amid shloshta works even in this case too, even where it's a loan, because that's what we're talking about. Especially b'shtar chov, we're talking about osha milva b'yarachem. That's a loan. Does it work with ma'amid shloshta or not? That's machlokes over here, but it has nothing to do with our issue of makadosh milva ein mukadeshes, which is where a man gave a woman $100, and then later on as a loan, she owes him, and then he says, I'll forgive the loan, marry me by keeping the money. You keep the money, but the money's not here anymore because the money's considered spent, even if it's partially here, or even if it's all here, the money's considered spent. You have to give her something right now. So at this point, everybody agrees with Rav and Abaya and Rav Ami, and we try to say it's a machlokas. It's not really a machlokas. Everybody agrees with Mikash Muvem. That's just tomorrow's Gemara, which picks up from here. And He says again, maybe we could say that this concept of Mikash Muvem is dependent on a machlokas Tanah. Tomorrow's daf is daf Memches. It'll be on the podcast from this point on Tanoi. And on Sunday, Mitzvah Hashem will start from the very top of the beginning of Memtes. And I just realized that for people in Chutz La'aretz, they have Yantiv 2 days, right? So I'll try to put up Memtes' daf also today. But after Sunday, Mitzvah Hashem, when we learn together, we'll put up the new Memtes that we learned on Sunday, not the old Memtes that's from 7.5 years ago or 15 years ago. Have a good
Yom. Shabbat review. Thank you. Shabbat shalom.
Conceptually, I'm having trouble understanding the distinction between whether it's a loan for her or to start focusing on somebody.
Okay.
In one way or another, he's not giving her anything.
Yeah, he is giving her something now. Because when it's a loan to her, the money's gone. As soon as he gave it to her, as soon as he lent it to her, the money's considered gone. It's her money. It's her money, like Rashi says. It's like her money. She's like Rashi's lashon was, it's her money. It's kikesa kiti da. It's like hers. Whereas now, when I'm giving you an IOU, I'm giving you something. Somebody owes me $100, and it's firm. He owes me $100, and I'm giving you that obligation, and it's worth money. It may not be worth the whole $100 because you have to go collect it, and there might be expenses involved and trouble, but it's worth money. It's certainly worth the Shabbat. All right, Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.